Hello Internet, and welcome back to... Huh? Still at Freddy's. Well, what do you say we head inside this time? Welcome back. So, in my last video, I gave a possible explanation to the motivation behind Afton and what he does, and a possible placement for the death of Elizabeth. The motivation for Afton can still mostly work, though not as well as I originally thought, and thanks to Help Wanted 2, we get a poster from Fall Fest 1970, which is where I would assume Fredbear's singing show takes place. And that would put my bear attack theory in the 1970s. However, if the crying child, or Cece for short, died in 1983 from his older brother's actions, who I presume to be in his teens, then that would put Mike being born around the late 1960s to early 1970s. So William Afton would at least have been an adult by that time. Now, he could still have witnessed a bear attack and been traumatized like before, but I just feel the impact would be more impactful for the child than it would be for an adult. Now, Sister Location's placement in the timeline, mainly the death of Elizabeth, it was pointed out to me that her death was on the one day the Sister Location Circus Baby was actually open, and that the Circus Baby animatronic is programmed to only attack when there's only one kid in the room.
I don't understand. Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? Daddy, you let the other children go see her. Why won't you let me go?
Now, where her death could still have been witnessed on the security cameras, I don't think Cece could have been there to witness it. We know that Circus Babies was opened to fill a void left from the closure of one of Freddy's pizzas. And the first one didn't close until after the bite of 83, so I do not believe that Elizabeth's death could come before Cece's. Now, onto today's topic. I wanted to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's, The Silver Eyes. Me and my daughter are currently reading The Silver Eyes and its graphic novel counterpart. And I know the trilogy of books are in a different continuity than the games, but the novel and graphic novel have so many continuity errors just in the first chapter. I could make an argument that the graphic novel could be a separate continuity from the books as well. Now, I'm no stranger to reading the same story in different formats and having minor changes to them. For example, let's take a quick look at Star Wars: A New Hope. You have the original movie, you have the remastered movie, the original novel, updated novels, the original comic book, updated comic books, graphic novels, the video games, and many more. And the majority of which are the same with just minor changes. Like the original comic actually has a deleted scene from the movie in it.
I've missed you, kid.
Yeah, well, things haven't been the same without you, Biggs. It's been so quiet.
Now, some of these changes are there by accident, but some are on purpose. Like in Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, in its graphic novel, one of the changes that gets updated in almost every printing is the date of the Atomic Wars. The date keeps changing to keep it closer to the events of when that book is being reprinted. But the FNAF graphic novel has so many little and big differences, it's hard for me to just write it off as a few mistakes or updates, especially in a franchise that normally has such a high focus on those small details and also already contains multiple continuities. I have to wonder, are the novels and graphic novels actually separate continuities, parallel to each other? Here are just a few examples from just the first chapter of continuity errors. The first minor change I'm going to point out is in Charlie's internal monologue while she is driving. It's just a shorter version of what's in the novel, which is the kind of change I expect to see when adapting a novel into a comic. Then the next one I want to point out is when Charlie enters her childhood room. In the comic she says hello to her toys, which is not in the novel. But sometimes comics do add extra material and lore into the overall story. Then there is Stanley the Unicorn. She is supposed to be on the floor on a circular track. Instead, she is on the bed and no track in sight, which was the first change to really get my attention. Then the biggest change I noticed is that the comic is completely missing a scene that's in the book, where she goes over to the garage and has a memory of her father, and an animatronic, then losing her keys and having to go back into the house to find them, and she sees all the toys in the dark, and it creeps her out, foreshadowing what's to come in the future. But this could not be an error, it could just have been left out to make space for the next scene. That is another common thing we see when we're reading a comic adaptation of a novel. Now, one of the larger continuity changes is the scene with her friends. Let me read the description of them from the book with the image from the comic up. So we'll start where she's describing Jessica. She was wearing a loose white shirt with an embroidered vest, and she had a brimmed hat perched on her glossy, shoulder-length brown hair, with an enormous flower threatening to tip it off her head. She was gesturing excitedly about something as she spoke. The two boys are sitting next to each other, facing her. Now this is when she's describing Carlton. He wore a black workout shirt, though she doubted he'd ever worked out a day in his life. He slouched forward on the table, resting his chin in his hands. This is her describing John. He was wearing a neatly pressed light green button-down shirt and sleeves rolled up and the collar open. So that right there is one of the biggest changes. And just a little bit after that, Charlie goes outside with John and starts telling about a memory when the others come out and show up. Now in the comic, when the others come out, Jessica starts sharing that memory, not Charlie. Now, I'm not sure why there are so many differences, whether it's because whoever adapted the novel and edited the graphic novel just didn't pay attention, or that it was done on purpose. I'm inclined to think it was done on purpose, but then that begs the question, why? And my theory is that it's designed to be its own continuity. We already know the games, the books, and the movie are already in 3 separate continuities, so why make the graphic novels in their own continuity as well? It would make sense from a storytelling perspective, being able to make little changes here and there to help the story flow better, maybe drawing a background one way, but in a later game it's shown in a different way, and it would even act as a kind of shield for any discrepancies between the different versions. But most importantly, it would give the editors and the people making the adaptations more freedom to make the adaptations. Plus, it gives them a chance to add new lore into the story. However, I can't say for sure due to the fact that my daughter and I are still reading the book, and I don't know if this trend is going to continue through the whole book and the graphic novel, or if it will continue through the sequel books and the graphic novels. But if they do, I'm betting it's being done intentionally and that they are indeed in their own continuity. But hey, that's just an Whew, that was a close one. Well, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. If you think I'm onto something, please leave a comment. If you think I'm way off and just looking too much into it, then please also leave a comment. And once again, thanks for watching.